All right, thanks, guys. The Pacers take on the Celtics, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off in Boston. The Celtics open the betting as the 7-point favorite, total at 213.5. And since those markets opened this one up, we're seeing a slight fade of Boston when it comes to the spread. Half a point fade of the Celtics in the early going here. We're also seeing a slight move upward on the total. That moved up to an even 214. So once again, Boston opened 7 down to -6.5. Total open 213.5 up to 214 even. Right now, the Pacers are plus 215 on the money line. Now, if you like the Pacers catching the points in this spot here, just keep in mind they rank 25th in road offensive rebounding. They're also covering just 14% of their games that tipped off at the current point spread. Now, on the other side, Boston is 11-2 against the number in their last 13 in their games that tipped off at the current point spread. So 11-2 ATS in their last 13 at the current point spread. They also rank 5th in home defensive field goal percentage. We're looking at just 44% in that category there. Now, total-wise, Boston is 7-2 to the over in their last 9. I'm going to purchase the half a point, slide it down, iron my shirt some more. Good God, I just ironed this thing. How did that happen? Unbelievable. Give me Boston -6 and the over 214 in that matchup there. And before I go ahead and move on, just want to quickly take a timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines and personal leans out for Friday's NBA, college basketball, NHL, and MLB action. But before we go ahead and just dive into some more of that, I want to quickly remind you to check me out on my website. That's patreon.com/rockpage. We do some daily plays there. We have plenty of free content, and we went 2-0 in our picks yesterday, so we're feeling pretty good about that after I think everybody collectively, sports bettors and prognosticators alike, really had a rough week this week. So great to bounce back, and we're going to see some more of the same this weekend. I'm very, very confident in that. It's patreon.com/rockpage. Link is in the description section below. Let's go ahead and get into some more lines and personal leans. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we have the Trailblazers at the Hawks. 7:30 tip-off in Atlanta. Portland open -4, total 232.5. And since those markets opened that one up, we're seeing a steady and consistent fade of Portland, a 1-point fade on the spread when it comes to the Blazers. We're also seeing a little bit of movement toward the over, up to 233. So once again, the Blazers open 4, down to -3, total open 232.5, up to 233. Right now, the Hawks are plus 120 on the money line. CJ McCollum still out for Portland. Nurkic ruled out for the season. Real sad situation there. Now, Atlanta, Prince is doubtful for tonight. They also rank dead last in NBA points allowed. Portland on the other side, 8-1 straight up in their last 9. When it comes to the total, Atlanta's just 47% to the over at the current posted total. Give me Portland -3 and the over 233 in that matchup there. Next game, Golden State Timberwolves, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off in Minnesota. The Warriors open -9, total 230.5. Seeing half a point move upward on the spread and half a point move downward on the total. Spread now 9.5, total down to 230. So once again, the Warriors open -9 up to -9.5. Total open 230.5 down to 230 even. Minnesota's plus 400 on their home court tonight. Jordan Bell questionable for the Warriors. Taj Gibson doubtful for Minnesota. Minnesota's been very good at home this year, though. 23-12 straight up on their home court. They also rank 11th in home offensive rebounding. They are 7-5 against the number as the official home dog, and their offense is putting up 114 points per contest on their home court as well. Now, Golden State on the other side, they are 16th in points allowed. They also failed to cover in 2 out of their last 3 ball games, and they're covering just 39% of their games when laying the points this year. Now, total-wise, Golden State's 9-1 to the under at the current posted total. I'm going to purchase the half a point, slide it up, and take Minnesota plus 10 and the under 230 in that matchup there. Next game, Nuggets Thunder, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off in Oklahoma City. The Thunder opened the betting as the 4.5-point favorite, total of 221. Not a whole lot of line movement in this one, just a little half-a-point move on the spread. Looks like we're getting some pretty good two-way action on both the spread and the total, though. Once again, OKC opened 4.5 up to -5. Totals at 221. Denver's plus 165 on the money line. Beasley is probable tonight for Denver. Meanwhile, Paul George questionable with a shoulder injury for OKC. So we'll have to see where that one ends up. That's something definitely to look out for if you're capping this game. Just got to, I guess, cap the game right now if you need to take action now on whether you think PG is going to play or not. But regardless, OKC, 2-5 straight up in their last 7. They've also failed to cover in 5 out of those 7 games. They ranked 28th in the NBA in free throw percentage. They also ranked 23rd in defensive rebounding. OKC's 0-3 against the number, taking on Denver this year. They're covering 47% of their games when laying the points. Now the Nuggets on the other side are 7-3 against the spread in their second of a back-to-back. So a lot of folks always have concerns about the back-to-back. Denver tending to thrive in that situation there. Once again, they are covering 70% of their games in the second of a back-to-back. And total-wise, Denver is also 7-3 to the under in their second of a back-to-back as well. So with all that in mind, I got to lean toward the road dog in this one. Give me Denver plus 5 and the under 221 in that matchup there. Next game, Wizards, Jazz. 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off in Utah. The Jazz opened 11.5, total 226. We're seeing movement upward on the spread and downward on the total. -12 and 225.5. So once again, Utah opened 11.5 up to -12. Total open 226 down to 225 and a hook. Right now the Wizards are plus 600 on the money line. Trevor Ariza still questionable for the Wizards. Washington ranks 27th in offensive rebounding. They also rank dead last in road points allowed. Now, when it comes to the scoring in this matchup here, Utah is 7-3 to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean Utah Jazz -12 and the under 225.5 in that matchup there. Next and final game for our NBA slate. It is going to be Charlotte at the Lakers, 10:30 Eastern tip-off in Los Angeles at the Staples Center. Charlotte open -2, total 225.5. No movement on this one, two-way action or disinterest. Charlotte still -2, total 225 and a hook. Lakers plus 105 on the money line. Batum's probable for Charlotte tonight. So is Lamb. He is probable for Charlotte tonight. So Batum and Lamb both probable for the Hornets. Meanwhile, on the other side, Chandler is questionable for the Lakers tonight. The Lakers just 2-8 straight up in their last 10. They failed to cover in 7 out of those 10 games. They're also covering just 25% of their games as the official home underdog. Charlotte on the other side, 4-game winning streak, 4-0 straight up in their last 4. 4-0 ATS in those 4 games as well. And when it comes to the total, the Lakers are just 10-27 to the over at home this year. Just 10 out of their 37 games at the Staples Center got over the number. Give me Charlotte -2 and the under 225.5 in that matchup there. All right, let's go ahead and slide into where we going here, guys. Yeah, that is what we want right there. Some Sweet 16 action. Some good games last night. Capping them pretty good. Not great, but not enough to go broke. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at tonight's action. And we're going to begin with LSU taking on Michigan State. 7:09 Eastern tip-off in the Capital One Arena. Michigan State opened 6.5, total 150 and a hook. And since those markets opened this one up, we're actually seeing steady two-way action on the spread. I still have Michigan State at 6.5, but I did see a 2.5-point move downward on the total, down to 148. So once again, Sparty's -6.5. Total open 150.5 down to 148. 53% of the consensus is leaning Michigan State. 63% of the consensus is shaded toward the under. Right now, LSU is plus 245 on the money line. The Tigers are 8-2 straight up in their last 10. Both losses, by the way, in those 10 games came to the University of Florida, who obviously was a pretty quality team this year. So once again, LSU 8-2 straight up in their last 10. They're 5-3 against the number in their last 8. LSU ranks 20th in the country in scoring, which is very impressive considering there's like 1,000 teams. And they're also 19th from the stripe and 21st in offensive rebounding. Even more so, LSU is 10th in road scoring and 9th in defending the 3-ball when traveling. A couple more things to add about LSU. I got to hammer this home because this is a tough pick. But LSU is 20-14 against the spread overall for the year, 11-6 against the spread away from home. And they have successfully covered the number in 7 out of their last 8 when catching the points. Now, total-wise, MSU is 63% to the over, taking on teams scoring more than 72 points per contest. They're also 63% to the over, taking on teams allowing more than 72 points per contest. One more thing to add, Michigan State is 67% to the over in their games at the current posted total. Whew. Give me LSU plus 7 after buying the hook and the over 148 in that matchup there. Next game, Auburn, UNC, 729 Sprint Center. The Tar Heels open 4.5, total 159 and a hook. Whole lot of movement in this one, guys. UNC up to 5.5, total all the way up to 165. A 5.5 point move on the total. So once again, North Carolina open 4.5 up to -5.5, total open 159 and a hook up to 165 even. UNC, well, 59% of the consensus is leaning towards them, and 62% is shaded toward the over. Right now, the Tigers of Auburn are plus 200 on the money line. Auburn's failed to cover in 2 out of their last 4. They also rank 107th in offensive field goal percentage. We're looking at 45% in that category there. They also rank 191st in offensive rebounding. Auburn has covered just 7 out of their last 17 games, taking on teams over 650. So when they play those quality opponents, very difficult for them to cover the spread. They also rank 196th in road defensive rebounding. Now UNC on the other side, they rank 3rd in scoring and 1st in offensive rebounding. And when it comes to the total, UNC's 5-1 to the under in their last 6. I'm going to purchase the hook, slide it down, and take UNC -5 and the under 165 in that matchup there. Next game, Virginia Tech, Duke, 939 Capital One Arena. Duke opened the betting as the 7.5 point favorite, total at 145. I got Duke still at 7.5, guys, but I did see a little bit of movement downward on the total, down to 143.5. So once again, Duke is 7.5, total open 145 down to 143 and a hook. 51% are leaning Virginia Tech, 56% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Hokies are plus 285 on the money line. If you like the Hokies in this spot here, I'm not so sure they're going to win it outright, but they could keep it close. And the reason why I think that is because Duke is just 1-6 against the spread in their last 7. They're also covering just 40% of their games at the current number. They rank 249th in three-point shooting and 191st from the stripe. Even more so, Duke is 164th in defensive rebounding, and they've covered just 7 out of their last 16 when favored away from home. Now, Virginia Tech is 7-3 straight up in their last 10. Their last 4 wins all by way of double digits. Virginia Tech also ranks 8th in points allowed. And, well, we're looking at 40% field goal percentage on the defensive end. So their opponents are shooting just 40% from the field against them. One more thing to add, the Hokies rank 8th in defensive rebounding in the country. Now, total-wise, Virginia's 4-0 to the under in their last 4. Duke 7-2 to the under in their last 9. I'm going to purchase the half a point. Big surprise there. I'm going to buy it up and take Virginia Tech plus 8 and the under 143.5 in that matchup there. All right, next and final game for our college basketball slate. It is going to be Houston, Kentucky, 9:59 Sprint Center. Kentucky open -2, total 135. We're seeing movement upward on the spread and downward on the total, -2.5 and 134. Once again, Kentucky open 2, up to -2.5. Total open 135, down to 134. 54% leaning toward Houston, 52% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Cougars are +130 on the money line. Now, if you like Houston to get the job done in this spot here, very small number, but they're taking on a Kentucky squad who is second in the country in defensive rebounding. They're 3-1 against the spread in their last 4, and they've gone 12-5 against the number, taking on teams over 650. So Kentucky, not only do they beat those good teams, but they tend to cover against them as well. One more thing to add about the Wildcats, they are covering 67% of their games at the current point spread. Now, Houston, on their side of things, they rank 123rd in offensive field goal percentage, and they also rank 70th in defensive rebounding. I'm going to purchase the half a point, slide it down, and take Kentucky -2 in the over 134 in that matchup there. All right, let's take a look at some hockey. We're only going to cover a couple of games here, guys, because our hockey viewership is down. I'm dedicating a lot of time to hockey and getting very little return. So we're only going to cover 3 games, although it is a modified slate. It is a shorter slate, but I will reluctantly, actually, it's not reluctant. I enjoy capping hockey. Hockey is fascinating. I love seeing where the value is, but damn it, nobody cares. But anyway, if you're watching at this point in the show, I know you care, so I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for myself. Hey, we have we share the same passion. But anyway, let's take a look at some NHL, beginning with the Preds taking on the Pens. 7 o'clock Eastern puck drop in Pittsburgh. Not a whole lot of movement in this one, guys. Pittsburgh's -140, totals at 6. 61% of the consensus is leaning toward Pittsburgh. 70% is shaded toward the under. Right now, Nashville's +1.15 on the money line. Pittsburgh +185 on the puck line. We have Pekka Rinne projected in net for Nashville. Matt Murray projected in net for Pittsburgh. The Penguins are winning just 46% of their games at the current market price. They also rank 26th in home goals allowed. They're also 29th in home shots allowed. So their opponent's getting plenty of opportunities in Pittsburgh. Now, Nashville, on the other side, they rank 4th in defensive goals allowed. They're 4-2 straight up in their last 6, and they're winning 60% of their games at the current market price. Now, total-wise, Nashville is 4-2 the over in their last 6 in Pittsburgh. If you're into historical trends, I'm going to lean toward the road dog in this one. Give me Nashville +1.15 and the over 6 goals in that matchup there. Next game, Anaheim taking on Calgary. 9 o'clock Eastern puck drop in Calgary. The Flames open 240, total 5.5, and we're seeing all kinds of movement on this one. 20-cent move toward Calgary on the money line. And we're seeing movement upward on the total as well, up to 6 goals. So once again, Calgary open 240, up to -260. Total open 5.5, up to -6. 73% are leaning Flames, 58% shaded toward the under. Right now, Anaheim is +220 on the money line. Now we have Gibson projected in net for Anaheim, Riddick projected in net for the Flames. Anaheim's winning just 31% of their games, taking on teams over 550. They've also won just 5 out of their last 22, taking on teams allowing 2.6 to 2.9 goals per contest. One more thing to add about the Ducks. They've won just 14 out of their last 37 as the official road underdog. On the Calgary side, they're 22-8 straight up, taking on teams under 450. They're also 24-11 straight up as the official home favorite, and 3-0 at the current market price. Now, total-wise, Calgary 72% to the over at home when the line was 6 or higher. Give me the Flames -1.5 in the over 6 goals in that matchup there. That's about as chalky and square as it gets. Next and final game for our NHL slate. It is going to be Minnesota at the Vegas Golden Knights, 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off in Sin City. The Golden Knights open 180, total 5.5. Just a little nickel move of the Golden Knights, little nickel fade of Vegas in the early going here, down to 175. So once again, Vegas open 180, down to minus 175, totals 5.5. 54% are leaning Vegas, 79% shaded toward the over. Right now, Minnesota's plus 135 on the money line. Vegas plus 150, laying the goal and a half. Vegas ranks second in offensive shots and sixth in home goals allowed. Minnesota's dropped 7 out of their last 9. When it comes to the total, Vegas is 71% to the over, taking on teams averaging 2.6 to 2.9 goals per contest. This is a really, really expensive play, but I think it's the only play you can make if you're betting a side here. I don't feel comfortable laying the goal and a half, so I got to take Vegas minus 175, winning it outright in the over. 5.5 goals in that matchup there. All right, next and final slate for the show, and it is going to be in Major League Baseball. And I'll tell you what, I got to be honest with you guys. I am so happy that baseball is back. Obviously, football is my sport. You guys know that. But, man, baseball is so much fun to handicap up until you get to, like, July and August, where you have no idea what's going on. But this time of year is great to cap baseball. Don't let anybody fool you, man. Go with your gut, and you're going to win a couple games for sure. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some games. We're not going to go through the whole slate. I told you guys yesterday we're going to kind of cap MLB like we do with the NHL, take a few select games, but the whole slate I cannot do. I'm sorry, I just don't have the time in the day. But anyway, let's take a look at Astros Rays 7:10 Eastern first pitch in Tampa Bay. Houston open 140, total at 7. Not a whole lot of movement in this one. Nickel move toward Houston up to 145. So once again, the Stros open 140 up to minus 145. Totals at 7. 55% of the consensus is leaning toward Houston. 56% shaded toward the over. Right now, Tampa Bay is plus 120 on the money line. We have Garrett Cole probable on the bump for Houston. Morton projected for Tampa Bay. Now, Houston beat Tampa Bay yesterday. They are 1-0 straight up overall for the year. That was a 5-1 victory over Tampa Bay. Houston won outright. They covered the run line, and the total stayed under in that matchup there. That was Verlander on the bump for Houston yesterday. But today we have Garrett Cole. Pretty good pitcher. I don't want to see myself lay the 1.5 in the spot here, but I do want to tail the public. I think the public's in the right spot here. So I'm going to lean Houston minus 145, and I am going to keep it under the 7 runs in this matchup here. All right, next game. Love this series. I'm starting to really, really enjoy this rivalry over the past couple of seasons, especially after last year. But I'm talking about St. Louis taking on Milwaukee, 8:10 first pitch in Milwaukee. Now, the Brewers open the betting as a $1.25 favorite, minus 125, total 8.5. And we are seeing a steady fade of Milwaukee in the early going here, and actually a 15-cent fade of the Brewers in this matchup. They're down to minus 110. We're pretty much at a pick'em here, guys. So once again, Milwaukee open $1.25, down to minus 110, totals at 8.5. 60% of the consensus is leaning toward the Cards, 71% shaded toward the over. Right now, St. Louis is minus 110 on the money line as well. Milwaukee plus 310 on the run line. We have Flaherty projected for St. Louis. Peralta slated on the bump for Milwaukee. Now, Milwaukee did squeeze out a victory yesterday, 5-4 against the Cards. Milwaukee got the job done on the money line. St. Louis got the job done on the run line. They covered the 1.5, and the total went over in that matchup there. I think we're going to see a little bit more of the same when it comes to the total, but I think St. Louis will get the job done under Flaherty. Had a good year last year in spots. I think we're going to see some more of the same out of Flaherty. So let's go ahead and take St. Louis minus 110 and the over 8.5 runs in that matchup there. Next game, Angels Athletics, 10:07 first pitch in Oakland. And we're kind of in a similar spot in this one. We're looking at about a pick'em. Now, Oakland did open 115 with a total at 9, But since those markets opened this one up, we saw a nickel fade of the A's in the early going here, brought them down to -110. We saw movement downward on the total as well, down to 8.5 runs. So once again, Oakland opened 115 down to -110. Total open 9 down to 8.5. 63% of the consensus is leaning toward the Angels. 65% shaded toward the under. Right now, Los Angeles is -110 on the money line. Oakland +305 on the run line. We have Matt Harvey projected for Los Angeles. Estrada projected for Oakland. Oakland did get the job done yesterday. They blanked the Angels 4-0. Oakland getting the job done on the money line, run line, and the under was pounded on that one. I think we're going to see exactly the same today. I like Oakland -110. I'm going to fade the public. I like Oakland -110 and the under 8.5 runs in that matchup there. Actually, I'm fading the line move. There. Once again, Oakland -110, under 8.5 in that matchup there. Next game, Diamondbacks, Dodgers 10-10 in Los Angeles. The Dodgers open 165, total at 7.5. A lot of movement in this one. We're seeing a 10-cent fade of the Dodgers when it comes to the money line, and movement downward on the total, down to an even 7 runs. So once again, Los Angeles open $1.65 down to -155. Total open 7.5 down to 7 even. 70% are leaning. Arizona 59% shaded toward the under. Right now, the D-backs are +140 on the money line. Dodgers +130. That doesn't seem right. I got Dodgers +130 on the run line. I don't think that's right. I think I messed that one up. But anyway, D-backs +140 on the money line. We have Robbie Ray projected for Arizona and Ross Stripling projected for the Dodgers. LA won yesterday 12-5 against the D-backs. They won on the money line, covered on the run line. Total went over the 7. I once again think we'll see some more of the same. Now, with all that line movement moving the total downward to an even 7, I think this one will probably stay low. You know, no, I don't. Short porch, screw it. It's not staying low. I'm liking the Dodgers -155 and the over 7 runs in that matchup there. All right, next and final game, it is going to be Boston, Seattle, 10-10 Eastern first pitch in the Marine Layer. Boston open 145, total at 8. Nickel move toward the Red Sox. They're up to 150. Once again, the Red Sox open 145, up to -150. Totals at 8. 68% leaning Boston, 69% shaded toward the over. Seattle's +$1.25 on the money line. Boston +285 on the run line. We have Nathan Eovaldi projected for Boston. Kikuchi for Seattle. I like the Boston Red Sox -1.5 and the over 8 runs in that matchup there. All right, folks, that is going to do it for me. Thank you for watching today. I want to quickly remind you to check me out at patreon.com/BrockPage. We went 2-0 in our plays yesterday. Looks like we're going to start heating up here, so you're certainly costing yourself some valuable information each and every day you're not subscribed to that channel, that website. Now, memberships begin at just $1.99 per month. There's also plenty of free content there as well, so feel free to hit that pause button right now or finish the video. Open up your browser and just type in patreon.com/BrockPage. It'll only take you a couple of seconds. The link is in the description section below. And if you are a current patron of mine and you're watching me right now, I simply cannot thank you enough. I value your friendship. You make it all worth it. And most importantly, thank you for watching today's program. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free information. And as always, don't forget to check me out at patreon.com/BrockPage.